Hey guys, it's me today. I'm here to talk about all the books that I read in the month of August. I am immediately gonna delve into stats and not really talk a lot of intro just because it's easier. In total, I read 11 books this month, which amounted to 3,376 pages, which is an average of 206.91 pages per book and 108.90 pages per day. Then, for the format, I read 3 books I own, 2 ebooks, and 6 library books. I haven't read this many library books in a while. For star rating, I have 1 1 star, 2 2 stars, 3 3 stars, 3 4 stars, and 2 5 star, which amounted to an average rating of 3.27. Then for age range, I read 3 young adult books and 8 adult books, and that splits up in a plethora of genres with 3 mangas, 2 mystery thrillers, 3 fantasies, 1 historical fiction, 1 contemporary, and 1 classic. So yeah, those are all the stats. That means that I'm gonna go into individual reviews for all of the books that I read. I did do reading vlogs throughout the month of August, so I'll leave those linked in the eye as books come up if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts on these books. So yeah, let's just get into things. The first book that I read this month is Monster Volume 1 by Naoki Urasawa, which I gave 5 stars to. I'm not like a huge manga reader, mainly because that's not something that's like very accessible to me. Like nearby, it's very hard to just like get them, especially because manga is like very expensive and usually are like very long series, so like I typically don't want to buy them very often. So then my other option is the library, and my library has like a very small section of manga, so I don't read a lot of manga. But recently a couple of booktubers that I follow have started reading the series and absolutely raving about it, so it made me very curious about it. So I saw that my library had this like entire series, I believe, so I decided to like check out a couple of volumes to see what the hype is about, and I definitely get it from just this first volume alone because it was just so great. Like at the beginning I was like really liking it and I was really invested, but I wasn't sold on it the way it's been sold to me, you know. But then towards the ending of the first volume, like this big twist happened and it like shifts things, and it was just like a whoa moment, and there's definitely 5 star for me. Then next I read As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which I gave 1 of 5 stars to. This is the 3rd book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which I already did a full series discussion for, so I'll leave that link down below as well as up here, so you can go check out my in-depth thoughts on the series. This is the final book, and I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I was very excited to give this one a read. I didn't know that a couple of people, the consensus is that it wasn't as good as the first 2 books, with the main complaint being that it is darker than the first 2 books. And honestly, that made me still excited to read this because I don't mind things going darker, and especially after the events of the 2nd book, I feel like it made sense for things to go darker. I really hated this book a lot for that reason. I think going into more of like darker themes, like discussing trauma and PTSD and like stuff like that, was really well done, and I like the fact that that was done and Bip wasn't just eternally okay, because like she went through some shit in the 2nd book especially, so like it makes sense for things to get darker. It's just that I didn't really like the story of this book at all. I feel like the first half was very boring, not a whole lot happened in it, and then the second half a lot happened, but like everything that happened I hated. I think Pip made so many decisions that were just stupid, and like we know she's a very smart person, so like it didn't make sense to me that she kept making stupid decision after stupid decision, and I felt like this book was like an insult to like the first 2. Next, I read Look Every Door by Riley Sager, which I gave 5 stars to, and I read Survive the Night by Riley Sager a couple of months ago and I didn't like that one, but that is like universally not liked, so I decided to check out one of his other books and I landed on this one, and I really like this one. It's not perfect, and there's some issues with it, the main issue being that the characters felt very flat, and I would have liked if like the characters were just a bit more developed, especially our main character. But I think this was such a great like thriller or mystery. It's kind of a bit of both, because this takes place in like this apartment building, and I feel like from the first second you enter that apartment building with our main character, like you immediately sense something is wrong, and like you have this like eerie, creepy vibe to everything. And I really like how the atmosphere was built throughout this book. I thought it was so well done, and I like how throughout the novel it like slowly is like revealing stuff until like one big reveal happens, and then it'll be just like it the ball is rolling, you know, it's like rolling very fast and a lot of things happen and it's very exciting and it's very good. And I really like how all of that was done. Then next I read Monster Volume 2 by Naoki Urasawa, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars to. This is the second volume of the Monster series, obviously. And I didn't like this one as much as the first one, because this one is mainly our main character kind of like investigating stuff. And it felt a little bit slower, not as impactful. But I still thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this book. I think it did a lot of interesting things. And it gave a lot of backstory on things, and all of it was very interesting. And I don't know, as we talk about this, when I spoil anything. So moving on. The next book I read is Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is a prequel novel to Pet by the same author, obviously, which it came out years ago, and I really loved when I read that. It was like one of my favorite books of the year that I read it in. And then this one came out this year. It's a prequel, but I feel like you technically could read this without Pet, but I feel like if you want to read both, read Pet first, because this one goes more in depth about like things that are reveals in Pet. So I feel like that would like things there a little less impactful if you already know these things from this book, you know. But I didn't like this one as much as I did Pet, sadly enough. I really wanted to, but I feel like the scope of this book is so much bigger, yet the book is still just as small. And I just wish this was longer. That's basically my main issue with this, because I feel like the characters weren't as well developed as they could be, the character dynamics weren't as developed as they could be. There are still, I feel like the big like action moments fell flat because they were so short and it happened so quickly, and we were supposed to believe that this was like this massive threat, but then we got rid of it so quickly. It makes things feel a little bit anticlimactic. And I just feel like if this book could have been longer, like would have been longer, those issues could have been fixed. And then next I read Monster Volume 3 by Naoki Urasawa. This one I give 2 to 5 stars. It's my least favorite of the series so far, but like this is also like the last one I've read so far. My library has the other ones loaned out, the next couple of ones, but well, I just thought that this one was a bit of a filler. There's like one big thing that happens in here, but it's like a very small part of this volume. But for the rest, I feel like most of this was very like episodic and filler, and I just wasn't as great, let me say it that way. Then the next book that I read is The Girl with the Make-Believe Husband by Julia Quinn, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is the second book in the Roguesby series, which again, I've done the full series discussion of, so that is above or below, I don't know, but we'll see. I'll leave it linked somewhere so you can go watch like my thoughts on the entire series. But I read the other 3 books in this series last month, so like you can even go like check out my last month's wrap up if you want to know more of my thoughts on the series. But it's a series of historical fiction romances that technically are prequels to the Bridgerton series, but like I feel like that connection is so slim, and it just marketed as prequel to the Bridgerton series just because, you know, it's marketable that way. But I feel like the connections are too thin to like promise you it's a prequel series to the Bridgerton series, but technically it is. But this is the last one that I need to read. It's the second one in the series. It's just that my library had all of them digitally except this one, so I had to like get it physically from my library. And yeah, it took me a little bit more longer to read than the other 3. But I wasn't a big fan of this one, mainly because this had an amnesia trope, which is something I don't like. I don't like amnesia tropes in anything. I've never liked amnesia in anything. So I didn't know that going in. I would have still read it because I want to finish the series, but like I would have had different expectations going in if I knew that, and I didn't know that, and I think that hindered my enjoyment a little bit that the trope was in there. But for the rest, I also just didn't really buy the romance. I didn't really feel the chemistry between these 2 characters. I didn't get the sense that they were in love, yet I was told they were in love, and that's like my main reason why I didn't like this book, is because that just didn't work for me. And then the third conflict was just horrible. I hated it so much. I mean, I could sense that we were going there from like the very beginning, which, you know, is already something that I don't like. And I can predict how the third conflict is gonna like happen from like the very beginning, but like even then there were some things that I didn't predict, but like it was done in a way that I hated even more. Then next I read Book of Night by Holly Black, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is Holly Black's first adult novel, and again it's one that is like very panned by most people. Like most people don't like this book that I've seen 1 or 2 people that have liked it, but like most reviews that I've come across are people who hate this book. And for some reason I was like, maybe I like it, and I read it and I didn't like it. I didn't absolutely hate it. There was a lot of interesting elements to this book, but I feel like we never went anywhere. I feel this book feels so long. Like it's generally the most boring book I've read in a while, because the first half just nothing happened. Like the actual plot of this book kicks in halfway through, like literally, maybe a little over halfway through. So what we were doing in that first half, I don't know, not explaining the world, because that didn't happen. We did get a couple of things explaining of the world. It's like a shadow based magic system, which I would thought was so interesting, and we got to explain a couple of things. But at the same time, Holly Black that kind of like mentioned things or like big deals in the magic system. I was just like, oh, they know what that is, and moved on. But like, we didn't know what that was, so that left me confused at so many aspects. The plot was also like very thin spread, which made it like very confusing to read at times. I hated the ending a lot, but like the reason why I didn't hate this book is because I think this world is so interesting. Then next I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I gave 5 stars to. I absolutely love this one. I've always heard, like from what I've seen from reviews, you either love all 3 Emily Henry romances, or like you love one, don't like any of the other ones. So I read People Meet on Vacation a couple of months ago, really liked that one, so I was I was 50-50. I could hate this one, I could love this one. I ended up loving this one so much. I love this even more than People Meet on Vacation. I thought this was fantastic. One of the best romances I've read in a while. I really love romance. You know, I've been a romance girly lately, but this one is really good. Like, I was convinced from like the first scene they had together, and like I loved the dynamic between Noah and Charlie, who are our protagonists. I really loved her dynamic, and I thought they were so funny. They had great banter together, but like they also had a lot of moments of like opening up and being like honest and vulnerable around each other, and like getting comfort out of the other person that I really liked. And I really liked the way the relationship was developed throughout this book. There is also like a major like second plot that concerns Noah and her sister, and I thought that was really interesting. This third act conflict was perfection. It was the natural progression for the relationship, and it worked so well, and it was heartbreaking and so good. And then the ending, perfect ending to a book I have read in a long time. Like, I was literally crying happy tears because everything just fell into place perfectly, and I really loved this one. Then next I read Finale by Stephanie Garber, which is I gave 2 stars. This is the last book in the Caraval series. I still need to film my series discussion for this one. That's coming soon, no worry. But I really loved Caraval, the first book, and I didn't really like the second book, so I was a bit hesitant for this one, which is why there was a huge gap between the second book and this one, because I was scared that this was going to be more the trend of the second book. But I feel like it ended up being the perfect mix of both for me. There were elements to this that I absolutely loved, like the main storyline. I really loved. I thought it was really interesting. I liked the way it was done, and I think this was a great conclusion to the series. I really liked how it wrapped up the series. But then there were also aspects that I hated, mainly the romance drama. There's so much in here, and it's very repetitive, and I did not care, and it's dragged out so much, and it's such a big part of the story when it doesn't need to be. Like, it could be like a very minor subplot, when in reality it was almost had as much page time as like the main plot, which was very frustrating because, like I said, it was the same point over and over and over again. I was just like, oh my god, get to it, just solve it. Then the last book already for this month is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I went out of my comfort zone with a classic, and I give this 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I said that. I have a bit of a complex feelings about this because, like, for the first half for this I was so bored and I was so scared I was gonna hate this. Luckily the second half like completely made up for it. The second half is very well done. It's very slow. It's a very slow book. It's a very slow burn. It can be a little bit rough to get through. It was for me, but I feel like the way these characters are developed and the romance is developed is just greatly. And with the characters, I'm mainly mean Elizabeth and Darcy, because those two are like the characters that get the most development. The other characters can feel kind of one-dimensional and flat, but like those two got like a lot of development, and their relationship is developed amazingly, and I love just like the second half so much. And it, like I said, it makes up for like the more boring first half. But that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the section below what you thought of these books, if you've read them, as well as some of the books you read this past month, and I'll see you guys next time. Here I am again, the same old situation. What does the